Good evening. Welcome to The Burn with Mitch on 12 Ounce Sports Network. This is your host, Mitch Bernstein, coming not from North Carolina, but from Abington, Pennsylvania, back in the state where I just moved from about 7 weeks ago. Uh, Thank you for being here. Glad to be here on October 26th. We have a terrific group of guests as normal coming on the show. Um, Let me tell you who they are, and then we'll get to a couple of little things that we've got going um, as we go forward. So, as usual, our first guest is Garnet Valley coach, high school head coach of the Garnet Valley High School football team, Mike Rickey. Mike will be on to, as normal, discuss his win against the Jags win against the Springfield High School football team. He will talk to us about the upcoming game on Friday, homecoming game against Lower Marion Township. So, and we'll all talk to Mike about the usual stuff, and I have a couple things I want to ask him about the game on Friday. It'll be his last regular season game at home. And regular season, there are playoffs to come, but we'll talk a little bit about that. So Mike will be on at 6:40. At 7:05, I've got a very good, a very interesting, a very knowledgeable football guy coming on. His name is Phil Jones. You can find Phil on Twitter at Phil Jones NFL. Phil is the NFL digital media content writer. He is a NFL digital media content writer, sports reporter for at Post Game Central, and host of Unfiltered. That's UNPHILTEREDTRUF. So, and his website is unfilteredtruth.com. So, it's a play on the word truth. So, Phil's going to come on. We're going to talk about the Eagles game, the Raiders game, depending upon who you were rooting for. I want to get his perspective on what he saw from the Eagles. I believe Phil is a huge Raiders fan. So we're going to talk to Phil about what he saw as an outside observer of this Eagles team who continually disappoint their fan base, not getting better every week. Coach says the same BS every week, as Andy Reid did when he first started. And there doesn't seem to be any improvement in sight. Continually calls plays that are not what you would call in the best scheme for the team that they're playing against and for their quarterback. Now, I also heard today on Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio that they're not impressed with Jalen Hurts. And as much as I can try to understand that, to me, it's the coach's job to put this kid, and Andy Reid would say this for years, got to put him in the right position. This new head coach, not to mention the other new coach on that team was the defensive coordinator, and Fletcher Cox saying not so much directly, but indirectly that they have to be more aggressive. And to me, that tells me that the defense has not bought into their scheme, and this team is going to go nowhere with these coaches. So as much as you'd like to think, and I went over this with my daughter the other day, that the team would be able to end up maybe even finish 9-8 because of the easy schedule they have in their last several games. They could just as easily lose to Detroit this week. So we're going to talk about that with Phil. And then finally, at the 7:30 mark, former Major League pitcher Mark Littell will be coming on. Look forward to talking to him Again, as a huge baseball fan, I love talking to former players, getting their heads a little bit, see what they think about what they've done in different situations. Mark was a starter at the age of 20 for the Royals, and then he ended up his career as a closer. Unfortunately, didn't have a long career due to injury issues, but really want to talk to him about his thoughts about his book on the eighth day. God made baseball. So he'll be talking a little bit about that book, his career, talk about the World Series that starts in about an hour and 40 minutes. And if we can get into it a little bit, we'll talk a little bit about the collective bargaining agreement, and what happens. What happens? How much does he know about what happens during those talks between the union reps and ownership? So should be a very interesting conversation with Mark. Um, we do have, like I said, Phil coming on before him to talk about NFL, most likely Eagles and Raiders, mostly Eagles and Raiders, and our first guest, as per usual, is Coach Mike Rickey. But before you get to that, as you know, a whole bunch, all major sports are going on right now. It's a very good time for us as sports fans. And just one real quick thing about the Philadelphia 76ers without Ben Simmons. His head isn't in the right place to play. Well, he doesn't want to get booed. He doesn't want to shoot the ball. If he doesn't shoot the ball, he's going to get booed. He doesn't want to get booed. Henceforth, he doesn't want to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. Who knows what's going to come of that? I know they're trying. You got to be trying to trade him, get rid of him, go somewhere else, go somewhere where he can, in fact, play. No one in Philadelphia is going to care where he goes. They just want to know who they're going to get in return, so that this team with Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid and the rest can maybe get this team to where they were last year and one step beyond, into the conference finals. So we'll see what happens with that. So we're going to see what comes up as the weeks go on with those 76ers. But right now we're going to change the talk to high school football, and welcome our coach of the Jags,
Hello, Mitch.
Mike Rickey. Hello, Coach.
How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How's the wedding?
Mike, couldn't have asked for a better day. It was awesome, and everything perfect. Just absolutely couldn't have asked for a better time. Family, friends. If you could have seen me, you wouldn't have believed it. I was dancing for like almost the entire time,
Yeah, good for
and I
you.
don't dance, but people were looking at me like, "Oh, look at you, you're dancing." I'd like to see Mike Rickey dance. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe you'll dance on the way out today, Friday. But we'll talk about that later. I do want to ask you about homecoming. A special question about that. But Mike, I was not, as I told you, I was told, do not get on your phone. We're hosting guests, so I didn't get to watch. I put it on YouTube after the game. Actually went on Facebook and they posted the score. So another big dominant win. So for those of us who weren't able to be there, how was it? What was it like? What happened?
Oh, it was another beautiful night that we had. We've been really fortunate so far in all 9 games this year so far. It's been beautiful weather. I think this weekend they're calling for some rain, but Friday night was certainly beautiful. There was a great crowd by both Springfield's fan and Garnet Valley's fans. It was a big night at Springfield. They had a halftime ceremony where they inducted some people into their Hall of Fame. Both bands played. So there's a lot of activity going on in Springfield. Beautiful new stadium. But our guys again came out in the very first series. Andrew Van Horn made a great athletic interception We scored 3 or 4 plays later, went up 6-0. They returned the kickoff back to about the 25-yard line, and then they scored, missed the extra point to make it 6-6. And then after that, I think at halftime we were up 36-6, and that was also another great night by Max Busenkill, Sean Gallagher, Shane Reynolds, Ryan Saunders, our offensive line. We did a lot of really good things, and defensively, we're playing at a really high level. So,
were there any smiles on the sideline by Coach Mike Rickey last week?
I'm sure there were.
Oh, dang it, I missed it. I'm gonna have to get to those guys in the booth on Friday and say, get Mike when he's smiling. He won't like it. All right, so yes, play again, outstanding by these kids. These kids kept with the game plan. Mike, speaking of game plan, something came up today. It's raining today, right here,
Yep.
back in Pennsylvania. It's raining today. It may rain Friday. Is there any time when you, as a coach, have had to change any kind of a game plan due to weather? You know how we all know how the weather affects a ball, though you guys have never really been a huge passing team.
Right.
But has that ever happened?
Sure. I mean, sometimes it alters the play call. You always like to think that you can do everything no matter what the weather, but sometimes a fierce wind or a strong rain will alter that. We like to practice when it rains. We like to go outside and practice and see what we're capable of doing. We were hoping to practice in the rain today, actually, and it ended up not raining. We were a little disappointed. Usually you want the nice weather, but we haven't had a rain practice yet this year. We had 2 days where it was such torrential downpour. We went over to Glen Mill Schools and practiced inside over there earlier in the season, but we have
Right.
not had a regular rain practice. So we'll see. It'll be depend on what happens during warm up. If Friday night, if it's raining, we'll see how we throw and catch the ball during warm up. Rain can be the great equalizer. It's out of our control, obviously, but sometimes it allows teams to stay in games. The ball's slippery. Sometimes people drop the ball, mishandle a snap, that kind of thing. So it's one of those uncontrollable things that can really make a difference in a game.
So So what happens then? Max is throwing really well this season. He comes to you, and it's going to be slick. How quickly do you change? You just go to your basic run.
Well, we either go to the
Offense?
run game or we change the patterns that we're trying to throw. Instead of we've been throwing the long ball to
Yeah.
Sean. Maybe we'll start to throw some more shorter intermediate passes, some safer throws, something, and see how he is. We'll know a lot during warm-ups how he feels with that.
Okay, yeah, because I did look at the forecast. It's interesting. Usually what happens is we hope it would rain during the day, which it said it's going to do, but then it said it's steady rain in the evening. It's like, oh,
Right.
great.
Oh.
So obviously you don't care. You'll play the game no matter what. But it's just a matter of making those changes on the fly.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So who else stood out? CJ, I'm sure played well.
CJ had an interception. Drew Van Horn had an interception. Joey Halloran was all over the place on offense and defense. He had 2 touchdown receptions, made some big plays on defense. He has been, like we said before, just such a steady performer all year. He and Drew Jackless at linebacker have been outstanding. Nolan Brennan continues to dominate at nose guard. Kieran Gallagher had a great game for us at defensive tackle. Austin Sorkonch, Will Rez is playing well. We have a lot of guys that are playing consistently well. We got Tyler Lassick some reps at cornerback. He's a sophomore, went in for Max. And then one of the big players of the game was sophomore Luke Mangione. Luke Mangione, during practice, has been doing such a great job on our scout punt block team. He's been blocking punts, blocking extra points, so he earned a spot on the varsity. First time in, we said, all right, Luke, go get this one. He blocked the punt. We got it on the 5-yard line, and then on the ensuing kickoff, it bounced off a Springfield player, and he was flying down the field, and he got that too. So back-to-back special teams plays, it really changed the whole quarter, the whole half, the whole game, because of Luke Mangione out there hustling. So we had a lot of guys who stepped up and made plays. When Luke came running off the field, he was just absolutely mobbed by his teammates, which is one of the things that we really promote is the oneness and that everybody plays a vital role and a valuable role in our team. So that was cool to see.
Good job, Luke. So Mike, speaking of the pump block, how does he do it? How do when you watch the NFL, right?
Hmm.
Rarely happens these days. Is that a missed assignment, obviously, on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, not necessarily. We have a different kinds of punt blocks that we run. In the one that we ran the other night, we just put more people on the line than they have to block. And so if we can get through, it still not, it doesn't. I mean, you still have to take the right angle. He took a really good angle. He's really quick off the ball. He had a relentless pursuit to the ball, and he just um, moved his way past the up back for Springfield right into the
Mhm.
line of the punter and blocked it. It was just a great hustle play on his part.
Block it with their. Did he block it with his hands? Did he get to his
Yep, he
chest?
blocked
Yeah.
it with his hands. Yeah, he
Okay.
blocked it with his hands. Yep.
When you teach that, when he goes in, I mean, obviously that's a special skill. He obviously loves that. I mean, listen, as a short guy, if I ever played football, I wanted to be one of those guys, just to do
Be a
something
punt
unique,
blocker. Yeah.
special, or intercept, right?
Hmm.
Um, do you teach what is the technique
So
to block a punt?
yep, the technique is to take the ball off the punter's foot. Don't run up, don't jump up in the air. The aiming point is when the punter holds the ball out in front
Mhm.
of him, he's going to kick the ball from that spot. That's where the aiming point is to put your hands up
Mhm.
together over top of the point where the ball is going to be kicked. And if we can do that, it sounds easy, but it's hard because your natural instinct is to jump and dive, and you don't really have to do that. You just have to run to that point with your hands up.
And obviously, if he gets there before the punter even gets to the ball to that foot, the punter's going to he has to make a decision. He's either going to
Right,
get tackled, he's going to see it, and he's going to have to run, or it'll
right.
get blocked, which is great. Um,
And speaking of punting, one of the remarkable things, I think we've only punted the ball 4 times this entire season.
well, that's crazy. And
Yeah,
listen, your field goal kicker, it isn't often. Is that Liberator, right?
yeah, Zach. Yep.
Zach, right? He's got a hell of a foot.
Oh yeah, he's got a great leg. Yep.
Oh my God. It's one of the things I always wanted to be also as my fantasy football in my own head. I love to kick, punt and place kick.
Hmm.
Um, Mike, I mean, he kicks the ball off. It goes 60 yards to the end zone.
Yeah,
It's
he's very
crazy.
very good. We're very fortunate to have Zach.
Um, and he's been really good. Haven't had to use him a lot on field goals. Um, Perhaps as the playoffs come in, it's more important. What is that? I know the mindset as a kicker is it. It's got to be not quite like a closer in baseball, right? He's just got to really focus on what a point at the ball, where he's gonna the timing with the snap, the step, and the
Hmm.
kick, right?
Yeah, Zach works really hard with all of those different things. He spends a lot of time during the off season working on that. He's got a great mindset. He's somebody the kids believe in, the coaches believe in. We know we can count on him, and we know when we need him, he's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you just can't believe even the extra points. It goes, almost goes over the fence out there, which
Hmm.
is amazing. All right, so we got Springfield is done. Lower Marion coming up. I looked at their schedule this today. I mean, they do have 3 wins over lesser opponents. I know you don't care about that, um, but what are we looking at in terms of Lower Marion and what's up with them?
So Lower Marion, they have a coach over there. His name is Joe Augustine, his second year head coach. I really like what they're doing over there. He also has on his staff one of the most veteran coaches in Delaware County, a guy named Ray Junta. Ray Junta was the head coach at St. James. He was head coach at Marple Newtown. He's been an assistant at a number of different places. He's one of the most respected football minds in the county, and he coaches their offensive linemen. The thing that I see with Lower Marion when I watch them is they're very well coached. They have a really nice scheme that they use on offense. Some teams just kind of call plays, and then that's not the case with Lower Marion. They set things up and they try to attack your weakness, which is what good coaches do. They had a running back early in the year, number 24, who was excellent, one of the best backs in the league. Unfortunately, he got hurt against Pencrest. I think he's done now.
Mm.
When that happened, they moved number 17, and I'm sorry I don't know the names. They moved him into running back, who was also very good, and he got hurt. And then they moved their quarterback number 4 to tailback, and they brought in sophomore number 11, who I think is going to be a great quarterback in this league. So they have some, I think, really good skill kids, really well coached line. They've scored points. They were 17-14 to Marple late in the fourth quarter. They ended up losing 24-14. They were 28-14 to Upper Darby, a team that was much bigger and much more physically talented than they were. So they beat the teams that they should have beaten. They beat Harriton, they beat Pencrest, they beat Pottstown, and they beat them all convincingly. They scored 28 points against Haverford. So this is a team that in the past years has struggled, but I feel like it's the best Lower Merion team that we've seen in a long time. And they remind me a lot of the Garnet Valley teams here in my early years, where
Right.
we were often outmanned, but we just control what we can control and become the best team that we could become and be fundamentally sound. And that's what they do. They're very fundamentally sound. They take a lot of pride in what they do. They play with passion. So, we're a better team than they are without question, but they're going to give us everything they have. And we need to make sure we're playing our game if we want to do well on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it's for a team coming in, like you mentioned to me in a memory with Mike a couple of weeks ago. You were outmanned at some point in our class, but all of a sudden, but boom, magic happened. The kids, it's inside here, it's their heart. They really wanted to go, and we really wanted to show people something.
Right.
Like you said, the great equalizer is rain. Who knows what happens?
Right.
We hope nothing happens. Obviously, snaps between Max and the center, ball slipping out of maybe Max's hands on a pass, fumble. You never know. So yes, you still have to be on your game no matter what. Do you tell them as a coach with these unique potential wet conditions? Is there a certain time? At one point, do you tell them, is this pregame? Hey guys, we know it's raining, it's wet. Hold on to the ball.
We've been telling them that since Saturday morning. We always talk about that, but especially in the conditions, yeah, we will talk about that every time we go on the field. That will get mentioned. Two hands on the ball. We really stress ball security. We practice it every week. We do different ball security drills, and it shouldn't matter whether it's raining or not raining. If we take care of the ball and hold it with the 5 points of contact, we should be in good shape with that. So one of the things going into this game that we've really stressed is, and we do this kind of every week, but we don't worry about who we're playing or what the opponent does because we don't have any control over that. We really focus on us, and we talked all week about the team that we want to become. We're not the team yet that we want to become. We're not as good. We're good, but I don't want them walking around believing in everything everybody's telling them about how good they are, because as good as we are, there's a ton of room for improvement, and we don't want to just be where we are right now. We want to be a next level team, and we're working really hard to get there. So that happens during the course of the week of practice with the expectations that the coaches set, with the drills that we do, the reps that we get, and that's going to be our measuring stick on Friday night. Are we able to execute better? Are we able to polish up this small detail that we need to do to be a really, really, really good football team? That's our mission.
Right. And again, every week you do say that, and the kids know. And again, when I talked to those kids several weeks ago, yeah, I got the same thing from them. And it's a professional attitude. They know that they can't look ahead. They know you've instilled in them hey, don't worry about the other team. Worry about what we do. We can't control what they do. We can only control what we do. And that is a professional athlete. And again, it's as we talked about, a life skill. Can't worry about what other people are thinking about you. You go out and do your job. Okay.
Right.
You do your job to the best of your ability in any way, shape, or form. You're going to be fine. They happen to get the breaks at some point. That happens, and we'll just have to counter with our attitude of, okay, well, they got that. Now it's our turn to go get this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a professional attitude. So Mike, it's homecoming. When you walk out, before we do memories with Mike, when you walk out, when you get onto the field on Friday, is there any kind of special vibe that you are going to feel, knowing that this is going to be your last regular? I know that doesn't mean much to you, but it may. Your last quote, regular season game.
Somebody else asked me that today, and I really haven't been thinking about it in those terms, I guess. It's funny, during football season, we're such an established routine. We play the game on Friday night. Saturday morning, we come in, see the trainer, we look at the film, Sundays to get our stuff ready and prepared. Monday we give the game plan. Tuesday we work on our offense. And then Friday night's the game again, and the routine keeps on going. And by locking into that routine, it kind of prevents you from thinking about things outside that routine. And every once in a while, like you just did, I'll get reminded that, and it's hard to believe for me that it's week 10 of our season already. The season has just flown by. And with homecoming, I will probably see some every year. There's always some alumni that I see that I haven't seen for a long time. That always is a special time to see that. So I guess it's going to be a meaningful time. Every game really is, but I just haven't been looking at it as this is the final game kind of thing. That hasn't been the mindset.
Okay. Some people can get caught up in that. When you leave a job, that kind of thing. Depending upon where you are, if you've been there for a while, it's always nice to get that big, hurrah, or be able to say goodbye. I did that last spring in Westtown, and for me, it was, and I know for you, for sure, you appreciate everybody that worked with you. I loved working with the kids. I know you do. The community knows you and loves you. I know you do. You got that recognition a few weeks ago. So it's just, for you to be able to, for anybody who's leaving a place they've been for a long time, it doesn't hit you till, I guess, the end where people get together as a group. Maybe not even at the last football game, right? But as a group, perhaps with the school. So yeah, I get that. For sure. Your routine is important to you to keep you in the same mindset as the kids, as you've been for the last 30 some odd years with Friday football, and then what happens next. So yeah, I think people watching and people listening understand that and get that, which is it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So last thing with you again tonight, memories with Mike. I love this part. I know you've told me you like it too, which makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
So what have you got tonight, Mike?
So today I was thinking, in 2012, we had what we thought was a really good football team. We played Unionville the first game of the year, and we had a receiver, A.J. DePietro, who was just an extremely hard worker, extremely talented receiver. And he and his buddies, Justin Pyle and the whole slew of them, had invested so much time and energy into preparing for the season, and they were ready to go. And the very first in the very first game against Unionville, A.J. DePietro was thrown a ball by our quarterback, Ryan Corkery, and he broke his collarbone. And we ended up losing the game, and it was a devastating. And the reason he broke it is because the sun was setting, and the sun was in his eyes, and he had to stop and go back for a ball. And it was just a freaky thing. And it was, anyway, my heart just broke. Anytime somebody invests that much time and energy into that, it just kills me. And I remember standing on the field with those guys after the game, and the coaches were unanimous in telling them that one game doesn't define who you are, doesn't define your season. We can use this as motivation for the rest of the year. And that team went on to win 12 straight games. And in the playoff game, one of the first playoff games we had that year, we played against CB South. And CB South was a team coached by a guy named Dave Rackavan. Dave Rackavan had been the offensive coordinator at Princeton. Really, really good football guy, really nice guy. They had a really good team. Their quarterback went on to the University of Virginia. Their running back went on to Lehigh University. And A.J. DePietro, from the time he broke that collarbone in week 1, he did everything humanly possible to get ready to play. His goal was to be able to come back for the playoffs. And I think he came back the week before the CB South game, and we worked him into practice. Well, the CB South game was back and forth. It was a shootout. Like I said, they had the great offense. We had a really good offense, and it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. With 19 seconds left, we were losing 48-45, I guess. And we had the ball on about the 17-yard line. It was 4th down. And we put A.J. DePietro out on the left side, 3 receivers to the right. And we go back to pass, and Ryan Corkery gets sacked. And when he gets sacked, he fumbled. And when he fumbled, Ray Walker, one of our offensive linemen, picked up the ball, and one of the defenders from CB South tackled him by the face mask. Right, so there was now a face mask penalty. We had new life. We had the ball. I guess we were a little bit deeper than that. Now we had the ball on about the 17-yard line with about 11 seconds left in the game. So we do the same thing. We isolate AJ out to the left. We throw a pass post pattern to AJ. He's covered. Ryan Corkery throws a great ball. AJ DePietro goes up over top and gets it. And we end up winning that game 52-48. One of the most exciting games that happened during my 35-year tenure as the head coach. But I'll never forget AJ coming off of that field and his teammates just overcome with joy and elation that not only that we won, but it was AJ who had shown such perseverance and resiliency all year that made the play, made the catch, and it's just one of those memories that will forever live on here at Garnet Valley. It was super exciting.
Yeah. I know I was there because I remember the scenario. Can't see it, but I know I was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and with 19 seconds, like, oh darn, and then elation plus with the end of that game. So yeah, it's another good one, Mike. It's a lot there, I know. We're going to look forward to more as we go forward. We got Lower Merion Friday playoffs after that. So listen, I'm going to be there Friday.
Good.
Hopefully we can get to see you and just meet up real quick and say hello whenever that might be.
Yeah, come on down. I would love that.
And want to see this team, see the crowd. It's going to be crazy crowd. I think it's going to be crazy. Even in the rain, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be awesome. So wish you luck. We don't need any luck. That's what they say, right? Well, good luck. Play hard. And thanks for coming on again, Mike. Always appreciate it. And we'll look forward to talking to you next week. And how soon, Mike, will we know who the first round opponent will be? Do we know?
So what will happen is there's a guy up at North Penn High School. His name is Kyle Berger, and he's kind of the points guru for southeastern Pennsylvania. Every year they do a radio show on, actually 1210 now picked up the radio show. It's on Friday night. I think I'll be on at 11 o'clock. They call all the coaches who have qualified for the playoffs. They give you the unofficial preliminary where you think you're going to be. He just called me yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I think we're gonna end up either the number 1 or the number 2 seed. If we beat Lower Merion and North Penn wins, if Haverford wins, I think then we will be a couple teams have to win it. There's a scenario that has to play out.
Right.
I don't know all the details, but we have a real good shot of being the number 1 seed, and if it doesn't work out, we'll be the number 2 seed. Which means that if we're the number 1 seed, then we would host any playoff games we had in the district tournament. So as long as we were to keep winning, we would continue to host. So either way, next Friday, November 5th, we'll have a home playoff game.
Okay. Awesome. So appreciate it, Mike.
Hope to see you Friday night, Mitch. Thank you.
I will look for you, Mike. See what I can do to find you.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Yep.
Okay.
Hello.
Bye. All right, folks. Great talking with Coach Mike again. We are going to keep the football alive with Mr. Phil Jones. Phil, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Mitch? How you doing today?
It's so good to have you on, my friend. Love to talk to you about football, NFL. Are you a Raider fan?
Yes, I am.
I knew it. I kind of figured that, Phil. I wasn't sure, but I had the feeling looking at the posts and everything that you were very excited about this past weekend. So, yes. Phil, how did you think it was going to go the way it went on Sunday?
Surprisingly, yes. I look at my predictions going back. I was saying, the Raiders, they should win the game by 8. But then I was like, wow, we end up winning by 3 points more. I could work with that.
Mm-hmm.
The defense came alive. They decided to show what they've been doing best all season. They've been able to create pressure without having to blitz. And this is something that, I'm new and accustomed to. This is like, I have not seen this Raiders defense play like that in nearly decades. I mean, like you would have like Khalil Mack do his thing when he was with the team, but now when you can see that you have one guy, the next guy, then your interior D line doing what you've been asking for so long, it's like a sign of relief. I mean, you want to see consistency through and throughout, but when you see it from your backups now, it's like, oh God.
It's a joy, isn't it?
Yeah.
As opposed to our team, those lovely Eagles, who I call, and most of us here in Philly are calling them dysfunctional.
And it is dysfunction, and I wouldn't say it's with the players. It's more with the front office and coaching staff, because you got the talent there. You got the speed at the receiving core. You got a good running back. You have a good, solid second-year quarterback who's been doing a lot of things where everybody's just like, well, he's getting into the tight end. He's getting into the receivers. If he doesn't see anything, he's moving. He's on his feet. He's not trying to take a sack. And that's what you want out of your quarterback. So when you look at what Jalen Hurts has been able to do for this team, I think it's more on the levels of you need a better coach. I don't think Nick Sirianni was the answer for this team.
Phil,
and if this continues, this dysfunction, as one of my predictions, I had them most likely finishing about dead last in the East.
So let me ask you about this. I heard this today on one of the Philadelphia sports talk radio stations.
Okay.
And I was about to go through the radio. Now, I'm not a big fan of these guys. And one of them is Ike Reese, right? Former player for the Eagles.
Yeah.
They're saying that Jalen Hurts needs to step up or he should be benched. And I'm going, the kid has played less than a dozen professional football games. His offensive line is not protecting him. What they wanted him to do? He needs to step up in the pocket more. Where did you see him able to step up in the pocket on Sunday? He was getting his ass. He had to get his ass out of town almost every play. What are they looking at, Phil? Are they nuts or what?
This is the one thing that I try to go into this realm of separating, sports talk with emotion, and then sports talk with analytics and, common sense.
Right.
And right there in that realm, that is talking with emotions and not seeing the game thoroughly. Like, if you're going to talk that kind of stuff, always go back and watch the game. Because from any fan's perspective, anybody that loves football in general, you assess it sometimes the first time you watch it. Okay, I'm assessing this as, I'm with emotions like, oh, you're not going to see everything. But you have the technology now. You have the funds to go and say, hey, let's watch it on all 22. Let's see what was missing. Let's see what went wrong. And then you're like, oh, he was actually fine right there. And then you go, well, they weren't blocking for him right here. They were getting overwhelmed by Jonathan Hankins. They were getting overwhelmed by Solomon Thomas or Quentin Jefferson. So when you look at that, you can't put that on that guy. It's so much he can do. And he was trying to run and escape. And then when you look at the snaps, Kelsey wasn't doing his job of getting the ball to him. Kelsey ran his mouth a lot, just like his brother. But, less of this.
Yeah.
Make sure you're doing your job.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm hearing this today on the radio. I'm going, wait a minute. You guys have been on the radio. I just played the game. And I'm like, are you watching what I'm watching? And is there a bias there because they don't want Jalen to succeed? And then it all flows into the Jeff Lurie, Howie Roseman marriage. He's never going to get rid of Howie because they're buddies. And is Jeff Lurie saying, I think I was talking to Phil Stifel about this a couple of weeks ago and said, okay, Jeff Lurie got his trophy. He got his Super Bowl. And if he's never going to get rid of Howie, then if he doesn't care and he's not going to put the hammer down, and we're going to continue to let Howie make these picks, this team is going absolutely nowhere. Having to pick this coach, the defensive coach. Tell me about what you saw on the Eagles' defense. What we've been seeing for the last 7 games.
They're strict. They're strapped down to just running cover 3. They're cover 3, or sometimes they'll try to run a combo coverage. They'll mix it with cover 3, cover 4. All that only they run is zone basically. Because if you put them in man coverage, I'm gonna just say this: Darius Slayton, he's gonna get shredded. He's not a man coverage corner. And I think a lot of people need to understand when you go and look at Pro Football Focus with, they got him ranked at a 84.5, or he was at a 90.2 or something like that as a corner. You got to separate, okay, was this coming from man coverage or was this coming from zone coverage? And what the tape shows, they run strictly zone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then,
except for Darius Slay. Listen, Darius Slay has been on every other team's prime receiver. And I think he's done okay this year. Okay.
Last year, I would agree with that one. I'm not going to go on like down and then throw him in the dirt, but he's been able to do a solid job at holding it down at best. But, when teams have gotten enough tape to see what you're running, because when that second half comes of the season, expose it. That.
Yeah. So Fletcher Cox said something, I think it was yesterday that I read today, about he indirectly kind of called out the defensive coach, our new coach Gannon, about not being aggressive enough. Okay. And if he's starting to question the coach, right? He's the lead. He's the veteran. I mean, and we all in Philadelphia, and I've heard that too. Fletcher Cox has been he's kind of disappeared. I don't understand. First of all, the linebacker crew sucks, right?
I watched him get ran over by Kenyon Drake, and I watched him get overpowered by Josh Jacobs a handful of times, and then they couldn't handle Foster Moreau. I mean, don't get me wrong, Foster Moreau, everybody always thinks he's just this blocking tight end, but it goes back from LSU. He didn't get the opportunity to really show, but when he did show, the man delivered.
Yeah, he did.
I think what went on with everybody in the NFL, they're thinking that the Raiders have the worst the rushing attack is just terrible. They're dead last. Our defense could take care of it. It's no problem. But here's the thing. If you pay close attention to what they're running, Raiders are not a zone blocking scheme. O-line, that's where they had their struggles at the first couple games of the season. And when John Gruden was relieved, when he resigned, they switched it up and went back to what these guys are more comfortable to running. They're more power blocking. They're more man. You can implicate a little bit of a hybrid zone blocking scheme, but it's still majority power and gap. So you look at Alex Leatherwood when he comes from Alabama. They were running power. You look at Andre James and Colton Miller, so on and so forth. I can just go down that list of guys right there. They've all are more comfortable running that power. And when they came out and ran it against Denver, and then when they ran it on Sunday, Philly was just like, we got a problem.
They got
I think they game planned more for what they saw early on than what they paid attention to against Denver, because a lot of folks had the idea that the Raiders were playing off emotion.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. So Gruden's gone, right? You guys are 5-2. So what do you think, Phil? What's going to happen with your team here? Are they as good as they seem? How far can they go?
I mean, when you look on paper, they are good. They're good. But the thing of it is always take one game at a time, and you have to be consistent. I think, let's say that, hypothetically, let's say the whole Gruden resignation thing happened after the Chargers game.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Raiders will probably end up being 6-1.
Oh, really? Yeah.
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 That's where I'm at. I think if it
Okay.
happened, I think if it came out earlier than that,
Right.
I think the Raiders will probably be sitting at 6-1.
Okay.
They'd probably be first place in the first place now in the division, but
Right.
beforehand they would have been, up top. But the whole
Yeah.
thing is you're coming into the second half of the schedule. I mean, this is where, the past 2 seasons, the Raiders have had a downward spiral where they're just like, you're 4-6, or you went excuse me, not 4-6, but you went like 3-5, or you lost, like you weren't doing the same thing what you did in the first half. You looked terrible.
Right.
But this time you got a defense that has maintained staying within the top 15.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was telling me, Raiders need a top 15 defense. Raiders got rid of John Gruden and finally opened up the offense, and it's good.
Things are working. So I'm going to go over the schedule. So, Sunday, there's a bye this week, so everybody gets to get healthy, right? That's helpful because you come back in New York against the lowly Giants. So now you're going to be 6-2. Interesting game against the Kansas City Chiefs the following week, right? Kansas City, whoa, baby. What's going on with them, right? That's a possible win. Takes you to 7-2. The Bengals, after that, Dallas could be a really interesting game. I guess that's Thanksgiving, right? Thursday at the 11:25.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. That's in Dallas. Then you have Washington win. Then the KC again, not sure. Cleveland, Denver, Indianapolis, and then you end up with the Chargers. So I see a team that could. What do you think? Could they win that West?
Well, for starters, that Giants game.
Yeah.
All I can do is pray to God that it's not a trap game.
Yeah, I thought
because I always think like, damn, we go to New York,
going on
the bye, it gets cold, and then I just think about when we played the Jets those 2 years. I'm like, then we go deal with the Chiefs. I'm like, Jesus. But you look at how these guys, Derek Carr said something that really caught my ear.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to have fun. They're playing like, I'm having fun out there. The last time I heard Derek Carr saying something like that, that was back during the year that he was running up for MVP candidate.
Wow.
I'm look, I'm gonna put it like this. I'm not one of the Carr apologists or, a guy that is, a stan, but I've been always very critical of Derek Carr. And when I seen that his mindset is locked in on what he needs to do, and then I seen how vocal the last 2 games he's been on the sideline, that tells me, John Gruden, mentally was holding these guys back. And, being too conservative with the play calling, it was holding these guys back a lot.
So as a matter of saying, hey guys, your interim coach is saying, go. He's probably saying, go have fun, do what you know how to do, and go play. Just go play, right? Pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other side of the coin, the Eagles. It's what somebody, one of the sports talk guys, who's really a good one, Glenn Mack now in Philadelphia. He put up a stat on Twitter the other day where he listed a lot of coaches who were fired after the first year. I think all Eagles fans think that Sirianni should go along with Gannon, but then you're starting all over again. But you have a decent offensive crew,
right?
But the defense, man, I'm telling you, those guys are getting older. Brandon Graham getting hurt the Eagles, but Howie hasn't put any value on linebackers, and they haven't for years, and that's hurt them. And everybody's worried about Howie making the picks again. If you look at the draft picks and look at what he's done over his whole tenure, he stinks. It's terrible. There are hardly any Pro Bowl players.
I mean, you're not lying. I mean, and you said something that, kind of reminded me the past couple of years with the Raiders. They weren't putting any value into the linebacking core. And it was damaging to them. You look at them now, you have Nick Kwiatkowski. I mean, he's more of your guy that comes on for the second team unit, but is still solid. You look at Corey Littleton, who they got in free agency as well. You got Denzel Perryman, who has literally has revitalized his career because, knock on wood, the man was dealing with a lot of injuries, and then now he's leading the NFL in tackles. This man's playing like he did back in Miami.
Wow.
And that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So you look at that, and then you also look at, some of the guys that they probably drafted in the later round, but they're solid guys. And, what you're saying with Howie, what he's going to have to do, he's going to have to look at solid linebackers that can get the job done. How well are they in pass coverage? Are they bouncing, pass, and run? And finding ways to help them elevate their game by putting them in the right position to succeed, because that's the one thing you need to know, is Gannon really doing that? And I don't think he's doing that for the Eagles, because the Eagles have had too many close games where, maybe they should be sitting maybe at least 3-3, or maybe they should be sitting about 4-2 right now instead of sitting at 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now it's like you have speed. And that's a cold hard fact. They have speed on both sides of the field, but they're not being utilized correctly. And when they're not being utilized correctly, you're just sitting there with all this talent is going to waste.
Yes. It's interesting. Thinking of speed. So one play that stood out for me on the game on Sunday, ball thrown out to the left by Carr, caught by, I forget who caught it. The defender overran the player who caught the ball. I mean, he just kept going with no sense of saying, oh my gosh. And he was just about out of bounds. So the player juked him for half a foot. Player threw himself out of bounds. And then the receiver got 5 to 7 more yards because the defensive player was out of position. I mean, that to me is coaching technique. That's just saying, hey, contain the guy at that point. Don't overrun it. Don't assume he's going to be. And he didn't even contact the player, the receiver. It's like, man, these guys have no fundamentals at all.
It starts. Hey, look, it always starts with your coaches. It starts with your coaches. If you're not able to develop these guys, then you're not going to have any sort of success. I mean, right now, you're sitting with a defense that's sitting within the top 20. But the thing of it is, you also got to look at who have they faced.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 49ers haven't been doing too well. Atlanta hasn't been doing that great. I mean, you can go and look down the list of the guys that they played, and that could be some understanding of why your defense is sitting that tall. But when you played a top offense like the Buccaneers, or you look at the Raiders. I think the Raiders put up about nearly close to 500 yards,
and that's been the day every week this year with those Eagles defense. It's terrible. It's embarrassing, And they have the Detroit Lions on Sunday. Phil, where do you live?
I'm in the DC area.
Okay, so you need to drive up on Sunday. If the Eagles lose to Detroit, find a bridge, because there are going to be a lot of people jumping off. Okay, take some pictures. Okay? They're going to be going nuts. It's terrible. And
on a Halloween, man. Oh.
Well, there you go. That could happen. it's going to be the Halloween. I don't know what they're going to call the Halloween massacre. They're going to get scared. Someone's going to have a good moniker for that when they lose to Detroit on Halloween. Oh my God!
Look, I don't need all them. Look, I don't need all them ghosts on that road. Okay. All right. I don't need. I'm driving on the bridge. Be like, you like what was that? What was that? You stop on the bridge. Like, Eagles suck.
That's right. Now the funny thing was, I mean, the fans are so passionate, but they get so crazy so early. Give Jalen Hurts a shot. I'm like, give the guy a chance. You know, the problem is, again, we go back to this, and we got to go in a couple of minutes. He's been. I think he's just totally screwed by the coaching staff. He's just totally screwed. He just hasn't been given a chance to put in the right spot. And that's play calling, and that's Sirianni. And now they lost Miles Sanders, and people don't like, think Boston Scott's the guy. He's pretty good. He's pretty quick in the hole.
Now this is one thing I caught like yesterday. I was surfing the web, going with Gardner Minshew over Jalen Hurts.
No.
I'm just like, wow. Because I mean, let's be real. Look at the numbers that let's pull up the numbers that Jalen Hurts have put up so far this year. Because in my opinion,
he's doing pretty damn well.
He's going to what his career numbers were last year.
I mean, Phil, people put up numbers last week that comparing him to. I mean, I forget who. I mean, it could have been. I don't know if it was Donovan or any other Eagle player. They're really good. They're better. Whatever the completion percentage.
I mean, let's start. So he's been sacked 14 times this year.
Yeah.
He has a 61% completion percentage. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now let's see him on the ground, because on the ground he's probably taking care of the most business. 66 carries, 361, 5 touchdowns. So this man is really about majority of your whole offense. And I'm just like, why would you want to bench him?
I don't know.
Now, I mean, I'm gonna put it like this, because I know Raiders might be like, you know what? I don't know what we're gonna do with Mariota. He's on that 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all want to go on and give Jalen Hurts to us, that's no problem. Because, Carr's going to get up in age and be like, hey, I got to pass it on to somebody. So, and I think, look, Jalen Hurts in a system like ours, it'd just be like him at Oklahoma all over again.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm hoping for the kid does well. I just, Howie, why are you going to start on the quarterback controversy? Let the kid play. Give him a shot.
And I think about how last year went, how they benched him in that Washington game. I was like, I don't think that was the right answer, even though he was having his ups and downs in that game. But so much pressure was on the line for that team. Like, if you win this game, you take Washington out of the playoffs. But the Giants, they make the playoffs. And I don't know. It felt real. It felt suspect.
It did, didn't it?
It felt really suspect right there. And I was like,
it was funny.
I was like, y'all don't want to see the Giants make the playoffs. They're like, let them burn.
Stranger things have happened, Phil, in Philadelphia. Yeah. All right, my friend. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I love talking to you.
No problem at all.
Your input was just tremendous, and look forward to maybe doing this again sometime, Phil.
All right, man. Take care.
Take it easy. Thank you very much again.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, some good takes on the Eagles and the Las Vegas Raiders from last week's game and what the Eagles team is. But now we're going to focus and we're going to switch it up, folks. Baseball, as you know, is my favorite sport. If there's ever a time I have a chance to talk to a major leaguer, I can't contain myself. So I might be able to contain myself now, but I think Mark will put me into my place here. Former major league pitcher with the Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Happy to have Mark Littell join us. Hi, Mark.
Bern, how you doing?
I'm good. Everything is going good for you. You look good.
Yeah, thanks. I've been doctored on pretty much, so I'm okay.
Oh, it's okay. How's that arm? How's that elbow?
Well, it works barely, but no batting practice today.
Okay, no BP today. All right, that's good.
Right.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on. Social media and Facebook have been a blessing for at least I know me.
Sure.
And the ability to talk to folks like yourself, former major league players. I just have the opportunity, the love for baseball. I think I told you my message. Been watching baseball, since I was 8, which was back in 1963. So it's just an honor for me to have someone like you come on the show and talk to you. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you came to Major League Baseball. Oh my gosh, you were barely a college student. Let's put it that way. You were 20 years old, right?
Right. I signed out of high school. George Brett and I signed the same year. We were both 18. He was an El Segundo boy. He was on a surfboard and I was on a plow. And we both parked him at the door in Billings, Montana, and decided to take no prisoners. And that was pretty much the way it was.
That's awesome. I mean, were you surprised that happened so early in your life, or were you ready? You were like, at that point, I'm ready to go.
Well, you know what? I don't think that you're really ever ready to go, especially the first time around, and especially when you're 20, because you're just not real mature at that point. I was kind of giddy, and I threw hard and all that good stuff, but I really couldn't pitch. So you go back down and you figure it out, and then you go through an arm surgery, then you really figure it out, and then all of a sudden, you creep into your maturity level, and you feel part of the team. So 76 was my first full year. We went to the playoffs, 76, 77. I got traded over to St. Louis in 78. And then, I had a real good year in 76, except for one pitch.
One pitch.
Yeah.
I was looking at that. I'm glad you brought it up first because I was going to bring it up and go, you are in the history books. Please don't turn off the camera. I don't hold it against me. But what was that? So let's tell the fans, what is that like getting into a game like that, Mark?
Well, I had a great year. I only gave up one home run all year and 110, 15 innings or something.
I read that. Yeah.
And, I was a closer, and they didn't know how to use a closer back then. Well, he did a good job. He said, hey, look at him. He's getting people out. So
and this
he
was the
told me I was going to close. And I said, he said, you know what that guy does? And I said, yeah, he slams the door. I said, sounds good. So my ADD got in the way, and I went out there and said, to hell with you, and sat down, and here we go.
And so we're talking about the 70, was that 76?
76. And then we were playing the Yankees, and in the playoffs, we were tied 2-2. Back then it was different. We had 2-2. We were in Yankee Stadium. Yankees hadn't been in the World Series situation in 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been our first chance, obviously. But that was our first year of a playoff. And the Royals drew quite well. Had a lot of good backing, good fans. We had a no-name pitching staff that came out of nowhere. I just happened to have that real good year, and I didn't know what a closer did, but I just wanted to get outs.
Yeah, right.
So I went out there and got outs. But in the 8th inning, take it back in the 9th inning, George ties it up at 6-6. He hits a dinger off of Grant Jackson and ties it up 6-6. There was really a call blowing out at second, but you're not going to argue that. There's no reason for Whitey to argue the call.
Right.
So, just go out there and play. It was extremely cold. The sky was just like the natural, where it was just blowing over the stadium. It was extremely cold. They stopped the game for 7 minutes or 8 minutes because there was everything flying down on the field. You had bourbon bottles and beer bottles and condoms and everything else.
Yeah.
Al Cowan had a condom, sail past him, and I guess he kind of eyeballed it a little bit.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, and then so anyway, they got it all straight, and Chris Chavez comes up to the plate, and I throw the first pitch, and it was actually a ball. It was up, and he got under it and hit the bottom of the ball, and it went up in the air. And I said, "That's not going to go out." And he went out about 1.5 feet, and the fans just stormed, and I mean stormed the field.
Mhm.
People always ask me, they say, "Where were you?" or what happened on that? Did you get off the mound? Well, I said, "Well, I watched it. I said shit. Didn't know what else to say."
Yeah.
I turned around, and I was getting ready to walk off the mound. There was already people on the mound.
Yeah.
So, and then Chambliss, he couldn't make it to second.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so I think they tried to get his helmet, and I don't think they got it. I think he put it underneath his arm and ran off, and he bopped a few people going off.
Yep.
And,
Mhm.
and I just walked off, and nobody touched me. Probably would have been a mistake. But anyway.
Yeah, you weren't in the best of moods at that point.
No.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I remember going into the dugout, and Freddie was in there, Patek, and
Mhm.
yeah, nobody was in there but Freddie. And when I went up the runway, New York's finest were on both sides. They had the brass buttons, and the belly clubs. And,
Mhm.
they came out after I got up through the whole middle of that whole crowd of cops. And then they eventually brought out the horses and really killed them.
Right.
So,
Right.
but it was an interesting night. It was way different than anything that you've seen. I think that was probably the second. They talk about the home run, Bobby Thompson.
Right.
And mine was, they call it the second one.
The second, they do, huh? They really do.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I just find, I find these things out when I write these books. I find out these things.
Yes,
Because you kind of got to be apolitically correct, because Saber's going to come after you and say, no, it wasn't that way.
Right.
Well, I told Saber one time, I said, Saber said that Mark Littell, lost 3 ball games in a 24-hour period in San Francisco. And I said, no, it was in a 22-hour period.
Okay. I'm sure they were happy for that correction. Yeah. Not
Sure.
that you really wanted to review that again, but
Right. I did win both ends of a doubleheader, though.
well, there you go. See, that's impressive.
Whatever.
That's impressive. Let's talk about the book for a second, because I didn't know about the book and until I saw that and saw you on Facebook on the 8th Day God Made Baseball. I read the reviews. People love it. Is it just basically your experience in major leagues? And what about the title?
Well, that was always going to be my title. And I have 3 books out, actually.
Okay.
And the third book just came out about 4 months ago. It's called What's Up Ramrod with a question mark on it. And then the second one's called Country Boy Conveniently Wild. But like you said, Bern, the first book was on the 8th Day God Made Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started writing, and I was afraid to write because I'm ADD as hell. And I found some Trump smart pills. And so I started taking those smart pills, and I got a little bit better at my writing. So people started reading some of this stuff that I gave it to, and they said, "You write this stuff?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you write better than most of these guys that, get all these stupid awards and bestseller stuff." And I said, "No way." They said, "Oh, yeah, you hold their attention." I said, "Well, it's just like I'm just talking to you right now, how I write."
Right. And that's the best way, right? They tell you to write the way you talk, right?
I guess it is. So I got a little redneck talk in there going. I'm a Southeast Missouri drawl, and
right.
Growing up on a soybean cotton farm made my character. That's what the book 2 is about. That's all.
Okay.
There's only one baseball story in that one, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one. So let's talk, if we can talk about the baseball one. It is about your experience in Major League Baseball, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it actually starts in high school, actually, and then Legion, and then signing, and then Billings, and then A-ball, and then AAA, and then the big leagues all of a sudden, and going through the spring trainings. And, what your mind's going through, and then the teams and
right.
All the good stuff. There's nothing malicious in it. It's all good.
Right.
You have a laugh. It's fun.
Yeah, that's what I heard. People love the book. They think it's funny. They think it's an easy, quick read because, like you say, you're talking to it. You're writing the way you talk, and you're just giving out fun anecdotes, I guess, right? Different things that happened during the seasons and players. Who did you hang around with on the Royals and the Cardinals most? Who'd you love to hang out with?
Well, George and I roomed together for quite a bit. Because we kind of came through the ranks a little bit together.
Right.
I missed him in A-ball. I got him in rookie ball in AAA, and then the big leagues we did for a little bit. But I stayed over at his house, when I was in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a lot of guys. I had some of the older guys too. I had Bruce Del Canton,
mm-hmm.
who was a real gem of a person, and he kind of took me under his wing a little bit. And then Fran Healy was a great guy. They were all really good. It was quite competitive in a different way. And the reason I can say that is because my third book is about the coaching aspect, because I ended up coaching 18 years professionally.
Okay.
So,
mm-hmm.
so I coached with San Diego, Dodgers, Milwaukee, Kansas City.
Okay.
And I'd seen enough.
But you have some guys can't coach, right? They don't know how to do that. You were able to transition to that because you wanted to stay in the game.
I wanted to be a coach.
Right? Yeah.
I really wanted to understand what made it all tick, because the real reason I went to the big leagues was because of the visualization thing with Dr. Bill Harrison. And, I'm just a plain old country boy that's just like off the charts crazy. And why should I go to the big leagues? First of all, why should this dog separate himself out of that pack?
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to find out, and I did. And all of a sudden, I just kind of came out of the woodwork, and they said, "God, who's this Mark Littell guy? You've got 150 in spring training, and you've got 75 pitchers out there. Why should I break away from 75 pitchers and go to the big leagues?"
Mm-hmm.
And,
that's interesting. I've never, I've talked to folks, but not a lot. But that's interesting. It was like you said, it's almost like I don't know. I can't describe it right now, but it's such a play as a go attitude, which is interesting. And maybe that's the reason why you got there was like you didn't. It sounds like you didn't feel any pressure to do it. You were just there to go pitch, right?
Well, I had blinders on.
Yeah,
I was just like a mule. I was just straightforward.
Right.
This is what I got to do. What's going to separate? Well, my fastball is pretty good, but I can't locate it. My breaking ball, not bad, but it could be better. I have no change up. Okay. I don't throw enough strikes. I don't get ahead. So I had to actually face up to the hard stuff. And you have to tell yourself, hey, get your shit together. Let's go.
Right. Get it together and go. Because at some point, did you think at some point, wow, I'm here, somebody must think I'm good?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And, the fact is, I wouldn't have made it in college very well because of the ADD at the point. Mm-hmm. I could have gone through JUCO and probably squeezed through it.
Mm-hmm.
But, it wasn't like I was a bad student. It's just that I just didn't really care.
So, Mark, my daughter has ADD. And, back in the day, I was a counselor in camp in the 70s when you were playing ball, right?
Yeah.
And they would give us a list of campers in our group. And at the time, there was no such thing as ADD or ADHD. It was hyperactive.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, what the hell does that mean, hyperactive? This kid's, and I found out. The kid had a fight every day. Yeah. They didn't teach us. There was no medication at the time.
Right.
I think Ritalin started coming out maybe later.
Right.
But yeah, so I understand what you're going through. It's hard to focus. And you need there's certain ways to deal with people with ADD, ADHD. Nobody knew it back then, right?
Yeah. You're sitting there, everybody else is watching the board, and you're counting the turns on the fan.
Right. Yeah. It's like the kid picking up grass. My daughter is a great story. She's, God love her, she just got married this past weekend. And funny story is that we were playing soccer, this 4 or 5 year old, and
Yep.
I put her in goal, right? And I turn around, I'm dealing with the other kids, and goal. I figured, great, she's safe there. It's going to work. She can do that. The ball's not coming really hard.
Sure.
2 minutes into the game, I feel this tug on my shirt. Daddy, I don't want to play goal. I don't want to play anymore. She just couldn't focus. Well, that's interesting that you were able to do that. Do you mention, Mark, any of this? Is there a lot of this stuff in the book you mentioned? Okay.
I do. I mentioned it in a little bit in all my books.
Okay.
I touched just on the ADD, but I also touch on, how I got, through it.
Yeah.
And it was Dr. Bill Harrison, and he was a big visualization guy. And I was 19 at the time in an instructional league. And how many of you guys would like to learn to concentrate? He said, concentrate better. Yeah, I raised my hand, there's 38 guys in the instructional league. And
right.
And so I kind of took to it because I wanted to go to the big leagues.
You did. Yes.
I want to go, what's going to make this work?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of coaches don't buy into that actually. And, when they hear it's, oh yeah, I know all about visualization. Oh, really? You can take it between the lines, and actually do it with a crowd about 40, 50,000, and you're calm and you're cool, calm as a just like a cool cucumber.
So that's
calm
interesting. You just said that, and I was going to ask you about that. And in terms of that, your mindset, not included, didn't know about the ADD, ADHD, and the mindset of a closer that we hear about. Going back to the Roboskis and all the good Trevor Hoffmans and the Billy Rogers, they have a certain mindset. Did you have that mindset?
Well,
what is that mindset?
At that point, you're basically a 2-pitch pitcher, because, I went through the arm surgery. I did do the ADD thing, but, closers have to have basically a 3 to 5 IQ. That's how they operate. I throw hard, sit down, I win, I drink beer. Drink beer. I drank one tomorrow night too, maybe. And maybe the next night.
That's what we hear about. It's just, you said there.
Roboski and I were traded for each other.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. He went over to Kansas City. I went to St. Louis.
The mad Hungarian. Oh my gosh. I mean, the histrionics going behind the mound. I don't know that you did that, right?
Yeah. He didn't want to cut his hair, so whatever. Bush didn't like that.
Right. I'm so you loved that role as the closer?
I did. I like coming in on there. It was fun. Either you're going to be the GOAT hero or the GOAT. And the thing is, if you're doing your job, if you're doing it 9+ times out of 10.
Right.
If you're 8 out of 10, there's somebody else better doing it. If you want to be a really good closer, you want to be on a championship team, you got 3 good starters, you got 2 other guys out in the bullpen, and then you got your closer.
Mm-hmm.
You got 6 guys. The other 5 guys will come along because they say, well, I think I got to get better. I think I can do it. So they fall into place a little bit.
Yes.
All
right, real quick, because I have like 10 minutes.
Hey, Nutty Buddy, see? Nutty Buddy.
Oh, Nutty Buddy, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, so
Flex.
So in the hold on a minute.
That's okay. You don't need to talk about that.
Okay, I want to real quick. But when I saw that, I thought it was a candy bar.
No. It's hard to eat, really.
Tell me what it is. Tell everybody what it is, real quick.
This is a premier nut cup,
Nut cup,
and I invented it. And you can see if you've been around these things that it's way different. I've won 5 awards, and I'm an idiot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, the military kind of likes it a little bit sometimes.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
But it's won 5 awards. Awesome. That's the only cup that's ever won an award. Correct. It's comfortable, and it's made out of 124-hour Lexan, but it's really the design.
It's the design, right?
It's the design that did it.
It's more comfortable than the regular one.
Oh my gosh! People fall asleep with them on. Little kids do.
And that when I've had to wear when I play baseball, it's like, God, geez,
not good.
No, not good. All right, real quick. Best time in Major League Baseball.
Best time?
Yeah. Best
I don't know. I just like being on the field quite a bit. I really like pitching in certain stadiums. Like when I was in Boston, that's not a pitcher's park, but for some reason I did well there, and I responded to the crowd because I think they stayed in tune, to the game.
Yes.
St. Louis is obviously very good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's baseball. Dodger Stadium got my first win in Dodger Stadium in the National League. And I've always liked. I just knew I would like Dodger Stadium. I had always heard about how good that mound was, and then it was perfect.
You liked the mound. That's
it was perfecto.
Player you didn't like.
I liked all the players. I mean, I have.
Oh, this is not a fun interview if you don't tell me who you didn't like. Did you?
Well, I had a guy like Tony Oliva when I first came up. He hit me because I was young and stupid.
Right.
But I had a guy hit me with a bat one time because I ended up breaking 3 of his ribs, but I didn't think he was going to get up, and he did get up, and I turned around. I said he's not going to get up. Turned back around, and I saw a bat go around my legs.
Ooh.
So whatever. So
I
didn't like him at the time.
Did you ever throw at somebody on purpose?
Yeah, maybe. And then I had people come. Not too many people came on me.
Okay.
They when I hit them, they went down, and I didn't make a big deal out of it.
Okay.
I mean, we were involved in Texas in '77, and I'm gonna put it in this 4th book that I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were involved in a fight that lasted 21 minutes, second longest fight in the history of the game, they say.
Jeez.
And we had 3 players on each team. We were in Texas. 3 players on each team got hurt. They had to call AAA, minor leagues, whatever, get players up the next day.
Wow.
Willie Horton picked up George Brett and drove him in the ground like an arrow.
I think I saw those highlights on that at some point somewhere. Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah, I think I saw that. Willie Horton, not a small man. No.
You don't want to piss him off.
No.
And especially when he's, got a few little pills in him there, he's all raring to go,
Yeah.
Stay away.
He could have been a closer, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, he's nuts.
All right, we got the World Series starting tonight. Mark, what are you thinking about it? You excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, both teams got, they got great defense. Both teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to come out before all the hitting and the pitching. It's all about pitching, but defense and pitching.
Yeah.
And Astros can hit the long ball, and you got to stay away from the big inning on them.
Yep.
And then the Atlanta is a line drive type team, and they can pop it too.
Yep.
But I think Atlanta's got a little bit of an edge on their pitching right now. They had the one guy. Oh, what's his name here? McCullers. He went down.
Yes. Right.
And so that was an owie right there for him. Yep. That was a hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But it's two great teams coming down, and you got to remember this. This is not the game that it was when, up through the 90s when guys went 7 and 8 innings.
Correct.
If the thing goes 6, that's like, oh my gosh,
yep.
That's crazy. That's out there. But, it's almost bullpen by committee.
Yes.
What you've seen, especially with Los Angeles.
Yep.
And, guy goes, starts the game, goes 1 inning, and then you got a guy goes 3 and a third, and then 2 and 2/3, and then you're through 8 and 9 pitchers.
Right. We got just about, let's see, 4 minutes. As this has morphed, Mark, what are your thoughts as you've seen this become reality with this kind of stuff, these pitching staffs going shorter and shorter?
Well, you've got a different breed of cat. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
They say they're stronger, but they do break. So their tensile strength is not what mine was because we used our hands more in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to the gym, and we didn't go to gym. My dad told me to put plow points on and whatever it took, we did it.
Right. Uh-huh.
So the hand strength is way different. So the breakdown, we didn't have the breakdowns, although I broke down, I got pitched to death, but I didn't turn away from the ball either. That was my fault. I stupid. So I'll take the ball. So
You'll do it.
but it's interesting to sit there and look at these guys go out there, and they go out there for. Are we actually going to have 220 inning guys anymore?
No, you know what? And all those records, you're right. All those records are, between Noli's and the strikeouts and all that stuff. They're never good at this stage of the game. It's a new game. You and I both know that.
Mickey Lowett's 300 innings. There's another guy. 300 innings.
Absolutely, yeah. It's different. We still love it because it's baseball.
Sure,
right? It's just different.
Yeah.
I'm a National League guy. I mean, old school. Want to see the bunt. Want to see the sacrifice. I don't think I saw one hit and run all season.
Right.
That's just the way it is these days. But we still love the game to watch. You do. I'm sure. Pitch to pitch. What are we doing? Pitch to pitch.
It may change. The word analytics will come out, and it may change back 2 or 3 years down the road when they start dropping bunts and they start going the other way.
Yeah.
And rather than going to a launch pad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mark, listen, this has been an absolute pleasure for me to talk to you. You have 4 books out, 3 out, fourth
3 out, working on the 4th.
All right, terrific. We'll look forward to that. The one that I mentioned was on the 8th day, God Made Baseball. I'm going to go get that because I want to read it. I want to support you.
Thank you.
And absolute pleasure for me, again, as a baseball fan for over 55 plus years, to talk to somebody who's been in the game, who was there. It's just an absolute pleasure for me. So thank you for taking the time to come on.
Bernie, thanks for having me. Appreciate it so much.
Take care. Stay well. You look terrific.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so that was great. Mark Littell taking the time to come see me and talk to me. Listen, for what he did, having again ADD in the years, back in the 70s, who knew what that was? He got through it. He was determined. He got through it. And that's just a great lesson for those in terms of persevering through hard times. All right, coming up next on 12-Ounce Sports Network is the Captain Lou Extravaganza. I am going to go and see and help you folks get ready for that. Captain Lou on Zingo TV channel 761. It's Michigan State week. Jack Ebling from the Drive with Jack is going to talk to give us his Michigan State University perspective. At 8:30, Nate Lewis, ex-Michigan Wolverine, takes the maize and blue side. At 9 o'clock, Adam Raymer talks Tennessee Titans and Alabama Crimson Tide. At 9:30, Paul Chivery talks about the World Series, which starts in about 1 minute, and the Captain Lou six-pack challenge, and a few more things that go on with Lou. From Pennsylvania, and next week it'll be North Carolina. You have been watching and listening to the Burn with Mitch on 12-Ounce Sports. This has been your host, Mitch Bernstein. Everybody stay well. We will talk to you next week. Take care. Captain Lou coming up next. Bye-bye.